So we're going to get started with our Pilates session this morning. And again, if you notice I'm a bit stiff, it's just purely my neck. So if my movements are a bit not as good as they should be, yours can still be perfect. Right, ladies and gents, so let's start. Just make sure your work area is nice and clear, no slipping or tripping hazards. And we're going to start in our set position to begin with. So we're going to place our heels directly below our hips and of all our 10 toes pointing forward. You're going to turn your palms in towards your thighs, so it opens at your chest and it gently squeezes your shoulder blades together. So you want that feeling of keeping really wide and broad across your shoulders and your chest. Let your weight just sit into your heels and then give your knees a little wiggle. And then you're going to rest with both knees nice and soft. Working our way up, we're going to bring some movement into our lower back with some pelvic tilts. So we're going to breathe in to prepare ourselves. With the out breath, we gently tuck our tailbone under. And then with the in breath, we allow our lower back to arch. So we breathe out through the mouth, scooping the tailbone under. And then a breath in through our nose. As you breathe out through the mouth, you want that sensation that you're drawing your belly button gently back towards the spine. Knees are staying soft all the way through. And the movement is just coming purely through your lower back. So again, use the out breath to tuck, and then the in breath to release. 2 more, and again you're trying to keep the rib cage nice and still, so there's no movement through your upper back, and then we settle midway. So our hip bones stay facing forward, your tailbone drawing to the heels, and then you're pulling up through the crown of your head for your perfect posture. Now keeping your set position, we think about the space here, which we call our square. And we're trying to maintain that set position and our square as we sway. So your knees are staying soft and your weight just comes into the balls of your feet. And then you sway back, allowing the weight to come back into your heels. Now as you come forward, you're making sure your ribs don't collapse down towards the hips. And as you sway back, just making sure they don't flare away from your hips. So again, it's maintaining that square as you let your weight come into the balls of your feet. And as you ease your weight back into your heels. Now when you come forward, try not to grip your toes. Keep them nice and relaxed. Staying really broad and open across your shoulders. We're going to allow the heels to lift. And then you're going to sway back, and this time lifting your toes. So you're breathing out through the mouth as you sway forward. And a gentle breath in as you sway back. Now we can add the arms, so both arms just float to shoulder height. And then as you sway back, your hands just behind your hips. You're breathing out through the mouth as you rise. And a gentle breath in as you sway back. So we're just going to have 2 more there. And then with your last one, we just settle in our centre. So as we come into our centre position, back in our perfect posture. Knees are soft, you're in your neutral spine. We just ease into a few side bends. So your chin is gently tucked in. Your ears are staying in line with the shoulders. Now both knees are soft. Your toes are relaxed. Now as you're gently easing from side to side, you're keeping the hips as still as possible by keeping the tailbone tucked under. So the hips aren't swaying from side to side, and you're just moving through your waist. And you can maybe take the hand a little bit lower, so your hand slides down towards the outside of your knee. And we just do a couple more again on each side. So we're just getting lots of movement through the spine, first of all. When you come to your left this time, you're going to rest in the centre and roll back into the shoulders. Bringing your right foot forward when you're ready. So your big toe wants to touch the centre of your heel for tandem stance. If you prefer, you can have your feet under your hips, or with your tandem stance, you can take your foot an inch wider, just so it gives you a little bit more base for your balance. Once you're in your tandem stance, we come back to our neutral spine. We soft through our knees, and then we float the arms to shoulder level. Pull the shoulder blades down. Start with your right arm. You're going to pull the elbow back, and then gently reach forwards. Now when you bring the arm forward, you're trying to make sure you're not bringing your shoulder forward of your ear. So we're still staying really broad and wide across the front of the shoulders and the chest. Now again, we're looking for the rotation through our spine and stillness and stability through our hips and through the legs. Now you want to keep making sure the weight's evenly placed through both feet. Sometimes your weight sits into your back foot to make it a little easier. Keep the chin nodded in, so ears and shoulders always come back into alignment here. And this is your last one on your left. Keep the arms here, change feet. So you're going to bring your left foot now in front of your right. Slightly different this time, we're going to come into our bow and arrow. So you're going to draw your right elbow back. You're going to open the arm and then you close back into the centre. Left arm pulling back. Turn the head if you can, says she. And if you prefer, you can keep your eye gaze facing forward, or just allowing that rotation to come through the neck as well as through your spine. Still keeping the focus through your feet. Weight through both heels. Both knees relaxed. Still holding a neutral spine. And then 2 more on each side. Breathing in as you pull back. Now use the out breath as you close. Shoulders still relaxed and down away from the ears. And your last one each way. So again, that spine nice and loose. Finding our balance. And then we're going to rest in the centre. Just let your arms float down. Coming into our squats next. We're going to take our feet hip distance apart. So your feet don't want to be outside your hip sockets. They want to be just underneath your hip joints. Your tailbone is tucked, so you're in your neutral spine. And we draw the shoulders back, making sure the ribs aren't pushing forward into your neutral. Now we're going to breathe in, tip forward from your hips. You're going to breathe out, lift both arms. Gentle breath in, hands just by your knees, and then you push through your heels as you rise. So your hips first, move back. Chin is tucked in, so you've got lots of length through the spine. And now think about your lower back. As you come down, if you're letting your back arch and you're bending from your back, you're going to feel that exaggerated curve here. So when you do come down, it might help just to stop at the bottom for a second, retuck the tailbone so you see how that lengthens your lower back, and it makes your tummy muscles work too. So you're breathing out through the mouth as you rise up with the arms, gentle breath in, and then push up through both heels. Now your hips want to stop just above your knees, and if you feel that you take your hips to knee line and your back's having to arch to get down there, then don't go as far. It's more important to keep that nice posture and that length through your spine. We are going to do that one more time. So now you've got the squatting action. You feel your hips leading back. We're going to take away one of our legs. Just one. So we're going to bring our feet back in narrow so they're in set position. All 10 toes forward. Hands onto your hips, and you're going to step your right foot forward and relax your left knee a little. Back under into your neutral spine. Now when we come to our squat, we're just going to keep the weight in our left leg and the right foot's there for balance. We're going to breathe in, push the hips back. Pause, and then breathe out, squeeze the bottom to bring the hips back under the shoulders. Shoulder blades down. You're breathing in through the nose. You're going to hold, and then you're going to breathe out through the mouth. Now from here you can bring in the arms again. You're going to let the arms float as the hips move back. Pause, and then squeeze the bottom as you rise. Chin tucked in, back nice and long. Core engaged. And every time you rise, feel the weight in your left heel. So when you push down through your left heel, you drive your hips forward, squeezing the bottom and coming back to your set position. Now we're going to hold here. Just going to open your left arm in line with your shoulder, back into the centre, and then push through your heel as you rise. 3 more. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out, draw the shoulder blade back. Take a breath in. And again, breathe out as you rise. 2 more. Try and keep all the weight into your left foot. Remember that right foot's there just for a little bit of balance. Nice strong posture at the top. And one last time. Perfect. And as you push through the heel, you can step your feet back in. So when you bring your left foot forward, imagine it's resting on an eggshell now, so it's a little bit lighter. All the weight into that right leg, squaring the hips, and a little tuck under with the tailbone. Shoulder blades are into the back of the ribs. Hips back first. As you breathe in, slide the bottom back. So we're not doing the arms just yet, are we? Just practicing the legs. Long back, tailbone towards the heels. Now think about the upper back too. Sometimes when we come forward, what we tend to do is bend the upper back, because that gives us that feeling of getting lower. So you want to imagine you've got a pole stuck at the back of your t-shirt, and it's making your back stay really long, really strong. And you're pushing out the heel on the way up. Then you can have the arms. Palms face in, so your shoulder blades squeeze together. And again, you can take that second at the bottom, just to retuck your tailbone. So you'll feel that when you retuck your tailbone, your abdominals draw in. So let the breath flow in through the nose. Pause. As your left foot still resting on an eggshell and all the weight into that back heel. Then we can add on that arm movement, and it's just our right arm. So as you come back into your squat, you hold here. You draw your right arm back, keeping everything else nice and centred. Then you push out the heel and come up tall. Breathe in through the nose, tailbone tucked, out through the mouth. Breath in as you close, and breathe out to rise. 2 more. Now keep drawing the shoulder blades gently down into the back of the ribs, staying really broad and open through your chest and your shoulders. Your last one. And then from here, just simply pressing out of your heel and stepping your feet back in. Okay, we're going to work our way down to the ground. So from here, we're going to come into a few rolls, first of all. Getting down might be easy, getting up might not be. We're going to draw the shoulders back and open across your chest, tailbone towards the heels. We start with our chin, just gently tuck it in. Draw the belly to the back as we come into our roll down. Your hands just slide to your knees. Then you're going to restack your spine. Bring in one vertebrae up and the next, so the shoulders roll back and down. So knees soft, tailbone under. Breathe in, chin to the chest. Gently roll down so your hands come towards your knee line. Belly's lifted towards your back. And as you breathe out, you restack each vertebrae. Now that's your partial roll down, just taking the hands towards the knees. If you feel comfortable, you can allow your roll to come a little further. So your hands slide down, maybe towards your ankles this time. But when you rise, you want to breathe out, draw the belly button up. Feel each vertebrae restacking. Keeping the chin tucked in, and then allowing the head and the shoulders to come back into set position. Let's do 2 more. Start from the chin. Breathing in, keep the chin into the chest. Neutrally hold as long as you can. You're going to pause at the bottom, and then you're going to breathe out and restack. And 1 more time. Then we're going to work our way down. So your last time, down to the knees or down towards the ankles. Knees soft. Start with the tailbone, gently tuck in. Draw the belly up. Restack each vertebrae. Head lifts and the shoulders roll back. This time we're going to come all the way down to the ground. If you find it difficult coming all the way down this way, just work your way down to the floor the best way you comfortably can. And once you bring the hands down, you're going to walk your hands forward. Let the heels lift, and then as you come forward, the knees come down under the hips. You're going to rest lightly on the tops of your toes. Your hands are shoulder width apart, and you're going to spread your fingers nice and wide. We bring our body weight forward into our hands. The elbows are soft. We're going to find our neutral spine, so a little tuck under again with your tailbone. So to stabilise our shoulders first, we're going to breathe in, allow our chest to sink down to the floor, and you breathe out, push up through the heels of your hands. So as you allow your chest to sink, you almost feel like your shoulder blades come away from the back of your ribs. And as you push yourself away from the floor, the shoulder blades sit back onto the ribs. Now your nose, your eye gaze is forward of your fingers. We're not allowing the elbows to bend, we're just letting the chest sink. And this time as you push up, you're going to hold here. So your back is nice and flat, so you're in a neutral spine with your belly lifted towards your back. Your right hand and your left leg, we're going to come to pinpoint arms and legs. So we're going to slide your right hand forward and your left foot back, turn your thumb up to the ceiling, and then we lift ear in line with the, arm in line with the ear, and your leg just in line with your hip. So your left arm forward, arm towards the ear. Now, as you lift your leg, you're trying to make sure that your toes stay pointing down towards the ground. That's going to help to keep the hips nice and level and also square to the floor. And if you're struggling with the arms and the legs together, feel free just to work with the arms and really focus on that stability through the shoulders, aware that you've not collapsed through your chest. Your weight's still forward into your hands, so your weight hasn't shifted back into your legs. You're breathing out to lengthen and keep breathing out with the lift. Breath in as you ease to the centre. Now at any point if you've had enough, you can just have a sit back onto your heels. We're going to try 2 more each side. Remember there's the option just to work with the arms. But also remember when you bring those hands back in, you need to keep the elbows nice and soft. 1 more on each side. And you get a nice little release for the back. From here, once you've done your last one, we sit back into a shell stretch. So the hands come back under the shoulders. You're going to gently tuck under your tailbone and then ease your hips back to your heels, trying to maintain that tuck. You might feel you can bring your elbows all the way to the ground. You can try and walk your hands a little further forward so you get a deeper stretch. You're going to breathe in through your nose. As you breathe out through your mouth, you will allow yourself to just become a little bit heavier. Just simply sinking down towards the floor. And then from here, we're going to take a roll onto our backs. So in your own time, you might want to bring your body weight forward first, and then bring your feet through. We're going to work with our bridges next. So working through bridges is about getting lots of movement and mobility through our spine, as well as strengthening our glutes and our hamstrings, and losing your voice, and creating lots of knee stability as well. So when we come down to the floor for a bridge, we want the feet hip distance apart and your ankles below your knees. If you have your feet too far away, when you start to lift, the hamstrings start to do more work. So it's trying to keep the work in your glutes. Now once you're here, open up through the shoulders and the chest, draw the shoulder blades down to the back of the ribs and gently nod the chin in. Your hands just lightly placed down by your hips. And when you've got your head resting, you want to make sure you can see the ceiling in front rather than your head being tipped back and looking at the ceiling behind your head. We start with 4 pelvic tilts to begin, just getting the movement through our lower back. So we breathe in through our nose. With the out breath, you draw your belly button down towards your back touches the floor, and as you breathe in, you go back into a neutral position. So as you breathe out, I'm just moving my hands so you can see better. As you press your belly button towards your spine, you're gently pressing the back to the floor, and you're breathing in to neutral. Out breath through the mouth, you feel your imprint of your lower back on the ground, and then we ease back into the centre. At this point, your ribs and your shoulders and your head stays nice and still, and then we're going to work a little higher. So from your pelvic tilt, feeling the lower back pressing into the ground, we'll roll a little higher just to our first rib, so the bottom peels off the ground. Then you go through your imprint, so you're pressing your belly button down to the floor, and you ease back in to your neutral. And when you work through the imprint before you go into neutral, you'll start to be aware of how much more your tummy muscles have to work to control that lowering phase. Let's do that one more time, and then we're going to take the roll just a little bit higher. Thinking about the knees now. Don't let the knees flare out. You're aiming to keep the knees in line with your hips. So this time, from your tilt, we'll roll up through the imprint to our first rib, and then we're going to continue to rise. Now, when we come to the top position, we're looking for knees, hips, ears and shoulders in line. We breathe in. As we breathe out, we start with the upper back. We place each vertebrae down individually. And what we're looking for is that segmental control, which just means movement through each vertebrae. So you can almost visualise your spine being a string of pearls. And when you roll down, you're getting that feeling of placing each pearl down on the floor, one and the next. Trying to get into the imprint. Then go into your neutral. Let's do 2 more. You might notice that 2 or 3 of your vertebrae through parts of your spine may almost lift as one. So just take your time and try and gently work through that area. Aware that the head hasn't tipped back. Knees are staying in line with the hips all the way through. One more time. Breathing out through the mouth. Keep breathing out on that rise. Take a breath in. And again, each vertebrae, start from your upper back. Going through your mid-back. Pressing the belly button down towards the spine. And then in to your neutral. So you've got the hands on the floor here, which helps. So if you prefer, you can keep the hands on the ground for a little bit of stability. Or we're going to bring them up above the shoulders. Shoulders again, still drawn away from the ears, so lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. We're going to breathe in. We're going to use the out breath again as we roll back up through the spine. Hips, shoulders, knees in line. And from here, we're going to breathe in, take the right arm back, and then you're going to breathe out to lift. Now your left arm, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then you're going to take a breath in as you roll down through your spine. Use the out breath and come straight back up. Still looking for that control through each vertebrae. As you reach the arm back, you're trying to make sure your ribs don't flare away from your hips. So you're still keeping that square here between your ribs and hips all the way through. Press the belly button to the back. Now we're going to add in the heel raise as well if you want to. So as your right arm reaches back, you can lift your left heel just onto the ball of your foot and then place the heel down. Then the left arm and the right foot, and then back into the centre and roll down through the spine. Keep your shoulders drawn back, pressed into the ground. So you've got a nice strong base to the upper back and the shoulders as you rise. Now, as you're lifting your heel, you're working a little bit harder to stop the hips rocking from side to side. So notice that when you lift your right heel, you squeeze your left buttock a little bit more and press into your left heel. So as your right heel lifts, press your left heel down, squeeze your left buttock, and then back into the centre. Press down with the right heel, squeeze the right buttock, and then back into the centre. So we're just going to do 2 more bridges there and just keep working through the spine for each one. So this gives you lots more movement, mobility and stability through the spine. You've got stability through your hips as you're keeping a nice strong squeeze into the bottom and keeping the hips still as you lift the heels. Once more. Breathe out on the rise. Take a breath in. Out with the lift. In through the nose. And then out through your mouth. And take a breath in. Press the belly down to the back. And you might like to give your knees a hug here. So gently drawing the knees in towards the chest. We're going to come into single leg pulls next. So your knees are forward of your hips, so they're almost over your belly. Both hands onto your right knee. You're going to press your left foot away, flex your foot and lower it to the floor. And then you're going to bring it back in. Change legs. Push the right foot away, flex the foot and then point your toe and knee back above the hip. Now again, you're keeping the chin tucked in. As you've got both knees above the hips, you've got a soft imprint, so you're gently pressing your belly button down towards your spine and your lower back staying in contact with the ground. So what's happening, you're making sure your tummy muscles are strong enough to keep your lower back in imprint and resist the weight of your leg. Now if you feel that you're struggling to stay in your imprint, just don't take the foot as low. Just take it to that point where you feel those tummy muscles working. And hopefully create a little stretch down the back of your thigh at the same time. Now you can make this a little bit more challenging. You can either keep the head rested, or you tuck in your chin, lift your head and shoulders, and we go with that same leg pull, extending one leg then the other. Now once you've lifted your head, you want to nod in the chin. So you're looking forward towards the knees, you're holding that soft imprint, and you feel like it's your ribs pulling down towards your hips. At any point you can rest your head and stay with the head down. And we can start to add alternate leg movements. So you can stay with the head down and single legs. You can lift the head and work with single legs. Or you can keep the head lifted and work with alternating legs. And you can even rest your head and work with alternating legs. We're going to do 4 more on each side. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. If you need to rest at any point, you can take a rest. And then with that last one, you hug in both knees, you tuck in your chin and allow your head and your shoulders to rest. Your feet come now down to the ground. It's a nice place for them to be. We're going to work with knee drops next. So knee drops is about, again, using our core muscles to keep the pelvis still and just simply resisting the movement of your legs. So what we're going to do from here, the feet again are hip distance apart. Sorry, they're not as close as when we do a bridge. They're a little bit further away. Now, once you're here, you're going to let the head, shoulders rest into the floor, nod the chin back in, and place your peace fingers just onto your hip bones. Find your neutral spine, so you might need to take that rock backwards and forwards. You want to settle so your hip bones are pointing directly up to the ceiling, and you have that tiny little bit of space between your lower back and your mat. So you have a glass of water balanced on your right knee and it's full to the brim. Your job now is not to let that left knee move. So you might feel that you have to gently press your left buttock just into the ground a little bit more. So when you breathe in, you're going to now lower your right knee without that left knee moving. And as you breathe out, you're going to bring the knee back into the centre. So again, it's a gentle breath in. Think about your left hand side. If you press your left buttock down to the ground, try and keep that same pressure in your left buttock while you're lowering your right leg. Then use breath. It's a slow breath in as you lower down. There's no movement through the hips or the shoulders, and you're breathing out as it comes back into the centre. Now don't worry about how far you lower your leg. Focus more on keeping a neutral spine, because you don't want your leg to come lower and your back to lift off the floor and you to come into the lengthened abdominals. You're trying to keep that square between your ribs and hips the whole way through. You're breathing in as you ease the knee down. You're going to pause and you're going to breathe out as you bring it back into the centre. And we're going to aim for 3 more on this side. So we start to create mobility to our right hip, but lots of stability through the left hip, as well as working your tummy muscles to keep the pelvis nice and centred and nice and still. I think there's one more. Breathing through the nose as you ease it down, chin still nodded in, lots of length into the back of the neck, and using it out breath as you lift. Resting in the centre. So again, just give your pelvis that little rock backwards and forwards. Find your neutral. Create your square again. A little bit of space here. Glass of water now on your right knee. gently press your right buttock to the floor, not too much, just so you can feel there's that nice contact and it's fixed. Then you're going to start to allow your left knee to roll to the side. Slowly breathing in as the knee lowers. Pause. As you breathe out, start to draw the belly button back towards the spine. Again, slow breath in through the nose. Hips nice and still. Still got that contact between your right buttock and the mat. And try not to let the amount of pressure change through your right hip. You can almost imagine you've got a big blob of blue tack. You've stuck it underneath your bottom. And you're sticking your bottom to the floor. And then you're just letting that left knee gently ease down. Now, what I also want you to imagine is your right foot's resting on an eggshell. So your bottom's stuck down, your right foot's light. You're going to breathe out through the mouth and draw the belly button back towards the spine. And you should notice as you're not pressing through your left foot, the abdominals have to work that little bit harder to keep that stability of your hips as you bring the knee back in. So again, we've got another 3 on this side. In breath as the knee lowers. No movement in the left, right, and out breath as we lift. 2 more. Slow breath in. Nice and gently down. And that strong breath out as you come back into the centre. 1 last time. Pause at the bottom and then breathe out with the lift. Okay, from here, we're going to keep the feet resting on eggshells and we're going to come in to knee lifts next. So recheck that the neck's nice and long. You're not looking back over your head because it hurts. Feet hip distance apart and that nice big 90-degree angle through your knees. Bring your fingers back onto your hips. So we're going to use those same muscles to keep the pelvis still. Both feet are resting on eggshells. We're going to breathe in. As we breathe out, we're going to just lift the right knee above the hip. And then we take a breath in and place the foot back on your eggshell. Out breath, opposite knee lifts. In breath and lower. So we're going to breathe in to prepare and out with the lift. In as you lower down. Draw the tummy muscles in, so when you breathe out, the belly button's drawing through towards the spine. Now you're working really hard not to press the feet back into the floor. So either imagine your feet going onto eggshells or resting on really thin ice. So if you push your foot down, your foot will drop through the ice. So as light can be. Perfect. And again. Use the out breath to initiate the lift, drawing the abdominals in. In breath as you bring the foot gently down. And again, the out breath through the mouth. And try and make sure that knee stays at 90 degrees. So your foot goes back to exactly where it started. Because sometimes what can happen is we just lift the leg and drop the foot. And we're trying to create movement through the hips. So we have to then work the tummy muscles to stabilise the hips as we move. Now we do that once more on each side. And then the next time, you're going to lift your right knee. You're going to keep your right knee above your hip. Press the lower back gently into the ground. And then pull your left knee above your hip. So you've got both knees up in tabletop position. Now you can extend your arms onto your thighs. Pull the shoulders back and down to the floor, and once you've got the arms straight and the shoulders pressed into the ground, that should put you at 90 degrees. Now we're going to bring the arms in, back to our seesaw arms. Right foot taps the floor, your left foot, arm reaches back. And then again, as you breathe in, left foot taps the floor, and right arm reaching back. So just working again with the opposite arm and leg. And this time as you're working, and because you've got both feet off the ground, we're going to a soft imprint. And that just helps us just get a little bit of feedback that we're aware there's no movement coming through our spine. So as you're lowering the arm and the leg, you're keeping that contact between your lower back and your mat. Shins just come parallel to the ceiling. And from here, we're just going to do another 2 on each side. If you need less, you can simply put your feet back down and work with those knee lifts. Chin still tucked in, back and neck nice and long, constant contact between the lower back and the mat. And then keep your knees above your hips. Ease them in towards your chest. So you're just looking for a little stretch and release through your lower back. You can take your knees wider and let the knees hug in. Take a nice big breath in. As you breathe out, see if you can just encourage the knees a little deeper down. That's the kind of nice bit. That's your reward. Right, from here we're going to take a roll onto our side. So you're going to pop your knees together. You're going to place your feet on the floor. Now keeping the knees bent, you're just going to roll to the front. Now your underneath arm, you can extend here. If you have issues around your shoulders, you might prefer to put a block or a cushion here and let your ear rest on the shoulder, on the cushion. Or if you have no issues around the shoulders, let the arm just rest on the upper arm. Your top shoulder, we gently roll back. So again, we're open across our chest and shoulders, and we've not got that temptation of rolling this shoulder forwards. Once you're here, you're going to gently tuck under your tailbone. So again, your hips are stacked. You might notice that this hip collapses a little up towards the rib. So you're going to simply push the top hip away, stack the knees and the feet, and then you draw the abdominals gently in. So you've recreated your square. Keeping our square, we're going to breathe in through our nose. With the out breath, we open the knees, and then the in breath, we close the knees down. Now, we're opening the knees, keeping the edge of the feet together, keeping the tailbone gently tucked under. So when you open the knees, you're aware that you're not pushing your ribcage forward. You're breathing in slowly on the way down. You're breathing out through the mouth on the way up. Shoulders, neck, nice and relaxed. So again, we're looking at using our tummy muscles to keep that pelvis still. And then we're using the outer thigh muscles to open up the knees. Still gently drawing under with the tailbone. So you're trying to make sure that you don't arch into your back as you lift the knees up. Trying to keep everything as still as possible. We're going to do 2 more knee lifts. The next time you open the knees, you're going to stay at the top. You're going to extend your leg out for 10. Now, what you need to do here is make sure your thighs are parallel, knees are still stacked, and you're gently squeezing the thigh to extend a straight leg. So there's no movement through the upper part of the leg. You're still tucking under with your tailbone, making sure the ribs aren't flaring and the lower back isn't arching. And you're breathing out every time you reach forward into your toes. Breath in as you bring the leg back. Trying to keep the knees nice and wide so you're pushing out and up to the diagonal. For 3, gentle breath in. 2, and once more. And then as your feet come back together, your knees close. Your bottom gets a little rub. Okay, from here you're going to straighten that top leg out. We're going to come into a side leg raise, so we're just going to bring the leg up, no higher than your shoulder. Relax the shoulders back, and then you're going to scoop the knee down towards the floor, and you're going to press out the heel and point your toes. So we're still getting lots of movement through our hips. As your knee comes forward, it stretches the muscles here, and as you extend your leg back, you're squeezing the bottom to get a nice straight leg. Still aware of your square. Gentle tuck under with the tailbone. And it's a nice, smooth, controlled movement. Easing in gently. Pushing and pointing. Breathing in through the nose. Out through the mouth. A little bit higher if you can, without allowing your ribs to collapse up towards your hips. Your hips to collapse up towards your ribs. 2 more. And into your last one. And then you can bring the leg just slowly down. And you can have a roll over to the other side. So in your own time, as you roll to the opposite side, You've got your knees at the 90-degree position, so they're pointing forwards. Hips are gently stacked, so you gently push your hip away from the rib. You might notice here when you look at your knees, they're staggered, and that might be because your top hip's rolled back. So you can always put your hand onto your bottom and give the hip a gentle push forward so it aligns the knees. Again, your cushion or your arm, your shoulder back in set position, so open across your chest and shoulders, and that just avoids us using our upper back to stabilise. Tuck under your tailbone, draw the abdominals gently in, so you've locked your position in. The only movement now is through that hip joint as you open up to your plum. Think about your lower back, so as your knees open, you're avoiding pushing the ribs forward and arching into your back. So again, you're trying to keep that spine as still as possible all the way through. Breathing out through the mouth as you open, and a gentle breath in as you close. As you're breathing out, you're feeling your belly button softly drawing back to the spine. So it's as we use our out breath, we initiate the movement with the out breath. And when we use the out breath, we get a deeper connection into our tummy muscles, which then helps to keep the spine and the ribs nice and still. Then we just make it a little bit harder. 2 more of your knee lifts. Still tailbone drawing down towards the heels. And now you're going to hold this one. Upper part of your leg doesn't move. You're just squeezing through the thigh. Knees are still stacked, and then your toes come together. Breathing out through the mouth and in through the nose. Again, just notice the ribs, not flaring forward. Lots of space between your ribs and hips at the top here, so you've not let your hip collapse up towards your rib. You're breathing out through the mouth as you're squeezing right up into the thigh, and a slow breath in as you ease back. And you're just going to give me 3 more here. 1 more movement left on this leg. So this time, as you come down, you get to close the knees, and then take a small rest. Knees come down. You're going to extend that top leg. Pull the hip again away from the rib. Lift. You're going to scoop the knee forward. Breathing in, stretching here, and then breathing out, squeezing here. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And again, a nice long spine. So no movement through the upper back. Shoulder blades connected. Tummy muscles gently drawing in. And a big squeeze on that lift. Trying to get a nice straight leg each time. Push through the heel and then point your toe at the top. Give me 3, 2, and your last one with the out breath, and then a slow breath in as you ease down, and a rub if required. Okay, we're going to turn back onto all 4s when you're ready. So you're going to just roll to the front, hands come under your shoulders, knees come in under the hips, and we take a cat stretch. So a nice long spine to begin with, and then you're drawing your belly up towards your back, eyes towards your thighs, and then just lowering your tummy down. So again, just feeling the roll through the spine, almost like we did with our bridge. Just feeling movement and mobility all the way through the back, letting the chest gently push forward, and then up into the centre. 1 more time. And now your roll up should feel even better than before. So you're going to tuck under your toes. You can walk your hands back, roll onto the heels. Lift the hips. If you can't get up this way, just come up the best way you comfortably can. We start with a tuck under our tailbone. The option is to walk your hands up your shins, or just allow your hands to hang. Take a breath in, and then you're using the out breath, keeping the chin tucked in, and you're just gently restacking through each vertebrae. And that always feels so nice. The shoulders gently roll back and down. And then from here, we just take a little wrap from side to side. Let your weight sit into your heels. Let the knees stay soft. And just let the head turn gently from side to side. Don't let the hips move. We're still keeping control. And then once more, over to your left. and then both hands come down. Let your shoulders lift up and then let them drop down. And again, a nice big lift and a release. And give yourselves a clap, ladies and gents. Very well worked. Thank you all very much. Let me flip that around. Oops, wrong one. There we go. And unless you're staying for pure stretch, you can have another gentle workout. What a shame. Don't want torturing that a little bit more then. Have a good day. We say it's not Monday, is it? I keep thinking it's Monday. Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Gilly. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Peter. It does sometimes, doesn't it? It's because that I think sometimes when I teach it slower and go with more controlled movement, it seems to go faster in a strange kind of way.